Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Definitely glad again that you guys are staying with us. 804-402-2893 is the number to be down with us tonight. 804-402-2893 is the number to be down with us. So you want to continue hitting us up on the MixLR and the Facebook pages, feel free to do so. We're seeing them. We'll get in the comments as quickly as we can. I want to go ahead and give you a word from our sponsor, the Doctor of Optometry, Dr. Euphemia Huggins Williams. ODPC continues to sponsor our show. She's my eye doctor, y'all, so I need y'all to take care of her. If you have issues with your eyes, you need to get some contact lenses. You need to just get your eyes checked. I know most people don't do that. A lot of people have the insurance, don't even realize they have it. Go check her out, 804-327-1640. Drop by 7124 Forest Hill Avenue, Suite B here in Richmond, Virginia, 23225 to get your eyes checked. If you want to get some glasses, you know, that's where I get all of mine from. If you got astigmatisms, glaucoma, if you've got cataracts, all kinds of issues with your eyes, she can definitely make sure she helps you get them resolved. So check out the Doctor of Optometry, Dr. Euphemia Huggins Williams, ODPC. Also at this time, I like to go ahead and profile our missing and or exploited child as we do every single week. This week's missing child is Malika Farmer. She's an endangered runaway. She's 15 years old. She's been missing since May 3rd, 2013 from Newport News, Virginia, which is about maybe 45 minutes to an hour away from us here in due east of Richmond. She's a black female, stands 5'4", with black hair and brown eyes. She weighs 100 pounds. Once again, she was last seen on May 3rd, 2013, wearing a brown jacket and a blue jeans. She has a tattoo on her back. Malika Farmer. If you have seen her, please contact the National Center for Missing Kids. Contact them on their website, missingkids.com. I'll call them by phone at 1-800-843-5678 or 1-800-THE-LOST. Definitely want to make sure that we remind you, even though it says endangered runaway, as I've been saying the last few weeks, that does not mean that this child has left home of her own free will and accord. It is very possible that she may have been taken just like they were taken in Cleveland. So keep that in mind. Don't want to turn a blind eye just because it says endangered runaway. So if you see Malika Farmer or any other child, please contact the National Center for Missing and or Exploited Children. And then lastly, I wanted to just kind of put a real quick word out with the schools being let out. I know they're out in Georgia. They're out here in Virginia, and they're going to be letting out back home in Jersey City, New Jersey here in the very near future. Keep an eye on your kids while they're at the pools, y'all. I mean, even though you got a child that says they can swim and you know that they can swim, you know, anything can happen. You know, they can lose their balance inside the pool or lose their breath inside the pool. Somebody turns their back for just a moment and something bad can happen, which is what happened here in Richmond over the weekend. We lost a little boy. I had put something out on my Facebook page when he went missing on Saturday, and then the unfortunate news came back yesterday that he lost his life in a pool accident. So definitely keep your eyes on your kids with regards to the pool, because you know that's just a real common but sad way to lose a child. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. So we're gonna move on and continue on some of the fun stuff. Well, not so much fun stuff because we're about to take a serious turn here in our What the Hell segments. First one I want to get into, we know the Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman trial has begun to kick up, and they're going through the jury selection. And first of all, it's been some really bugged out comments that have come from prospective jurors who have been decidedly unchosen because of some of the wild stuff they say. You know, things like Negro child. One guy said that he has no problems with Negro children. Yeah, you can't be on this jury. You know, another guy said that he gets his news from the rotten.com. Yeah, you can't be on this jury. You know, so a lot of crazy stuff. But what I wanted to bring up is a little bit of a different twist to just kind of give you an idea of what some folks on the other side of this argument are saying. And it stems from a book that was recently written by George Zimmerman's dad, Robert Zimmerman Sr., who is blaming black leaders for fanning racial flames. And this I'm getting from theroot.com. Of course, his son George is on trial for the death of Florida teen Trayvon Martin. His father has published this ebook criticizing the case and calling on some black leaders who called his son's arrest racist. The book the book Florida versus Zimmerman: Uncovering the Malicious Prosecution of My Son was released on Amazon last week for $3.99. He writes at length about the background and his family's multiracial identity, seemingly to counter accusations that his son, the 29-year-old neighborhood watch volunteer, was racially motivated to shoot the unarmed black 17-year-old last year. In the Zimmerman household, relatives, friends, neighbors, and classmates, and this is a quote, were certainly diverse, wholly accepted mix. He describes his son's prom date as a lovely young lady. They were an attractive couple. No one even considered the fact that George was Hispanic and the young lady happened to be black. He also denotes a chapter to the racial overtones of the case that promises to further inflame the issue in the chapter, Who Are the True Racists? He accuses a number of black leaders and organizations of being racist, and he also criticizes the attorneys representing the Martin family as being race-baiting schemers. He writes that before the shooting, he believed that generally racism was one thing of the past, but after the national outcry against his son, he says that he realized racism is flourishing at the insistence of some in the black community. He says African American, I say black. So, Dub, I'm going to come to you on this one first. There's a whole lot more here to get to. I'm getting this from theroot.com, but I think we got it set up already. After hearing Mr. Zimmerman Sr., the father of George, say these things, what's your thoughts? What does that make you feel when you hear that?
To be honest, man, taking the whole race thing out of it, look, man, I think his son was a little aggressive in regards to his pursuit after Trayvon Martin, and it resulted in Trayvon Martin losing his life, regardless of whether or not he looks like a white dude, or he's half Hispanic, or any of that situation. Look, you were malice in your pursuit. You were told not to do something, and you did it, and now you should pay the price. I mean, we can sit here and try to break down the details. They can try and divert their attention, but at the bottom line, from what I understand, is basically he was malice in his pursuit of Trayvon Martin, doing something that he was clearly told not to do, and it resulted in the death of Trayvon Martin. It just boggles me. But then again, think about our judicial system. There are situations where, they bring up certain situations and certain instances to try to divert from the actual bottom line. And in some cases, it has resulted in the innocence of, or I should say the freeing of individuals that should have been persecuted for their particular offenses. So to me, I really don't care if it was a white dude or a black dude. I definitely think he was too aggressive with his pursuit, and it resulted in the murder, and now he should own up and be held accountable for his actions.
I respectfully agree with what you're saying, K-Dub. My consideration, though, to what his father is saying isn't towards his legal case, isn't towards race, it's towards the fact that I, as a parent, am going to try and do anything I can to protect my child. Granted, his child is a grown-ass man at this point. He is still, for lack of a better word, his child. I tell my mom all the time, I'm an adult, but she tells me, but you are my child. And as a parent to a child, regardless of what standpoint he's take, either it be wrong, good, bad, indifferent, whatever you want to say, I'm going to do what I can to defend my child. And that's what his father is currently trying to do. You look at the fact that the book sales are cheap. $3 for a book. Somebody's going to buy it. And if he gets enough sales behind that book, what is that money going to go towards? It's going towards his son's defense. That's what the whole thing is. He wants to get a book out there, get something out there to drive some revenue, because if I'm not mistaken, and I've heard other reports, whatever defense fund he had or website he had, that's already gone under, and no more money there. That kind of thing is what right now he's trying to get. He's trying to get money for his kid to help him out as best he can.
Let me go ahead and read a couple of more here. He has a list of racism culprits. Zimmerman on the Congressional Black Caucus, pathetic, self-serving group of racists advancing their purely racist agenda. On the NAACP, simply promotes racism and hatred for their own primary financial interests and without prejudice or racial divide. Zimmerman on NAACP President Ben Jealous. What I would expect of a racist. on Trayvon Martin's funeral director, a racial activist and former head of the local NAACP. On Benjamin Crump, Natalie Jackson, and Darley Parks, attorneys for the Trayvon Martin family, the scheme team. Those are pretty incendiary things to say about the people who are supporting, by all accounts, an innocent teen. Now, if you want to argue that Trayvon Martin got into it when George Zimmerman, after George Zimmerman happened upon him, yeah, we can get into that. But we also know that DNA reports came out last week that said that Trayvon Martin could not have inflicted any of the injuries that allegedly George Zimmerman sustained. So when I look at the situation and I look at the fact that the Sanford Police Department was not going to arrest George Zimmerman, it was for the efforts of these quote-unquote racist people that went to that town and protested and fought and made sure that at minimum he got arrested so that a trial could happen, so that he can be judged by his peers. So I find it highly offensive, the fact that his father, and I understand what Carlton is saying, and I agree with Carlton, as a father of a girl or a child for that matter, you're going to do whatever it takes to defend your child, and I get that. But for him to point the finger at the black people in this town, because that's what he's doing. He's pointing a finger at black people and calling them the racists, when we've got a town that's known for having racist tendencies. I mean, in Sanford, it's well documented. And they were not going to even arrest this dude. To me, that is highly offensive. It's blasphemy. It's outrageous. And I'll be honest with you, this dude right here, I understand why George had issue with seeing a black kid in the neighborhood he never seen before and figuring that he was up to no good. Because if this dude is the guy who's raising him, then I understand it. And you was telling me that we come from a great diverse family. My son even went to the prom with a black kid. That even tells me, anytime you got to qualify your diversity, tells me that there's some sort of issue with you. You know what I mean? I ain't racist. I got lots of black friends. K-Dub, pick up there. You got anything on that before we move on? Because clearly I'm getting a little bit warm in here right now. I'm so outraged by this guy.
I think his pops, his father basically kind of chimed into a lot of the, I guess, subliminal racism that he may have in himself. Let's clear the air and let's not be fooled. There's racist Hispanic, there's racist black people, there's racist white people. All of us have had, I won't say all of us, but I'm going to say a very good high percentage of us have been in a situation where we either thought it or said it in regards to someone of being of another race. And I think that in his frustration, his anger in regards to how things have gone against his son, I think that he just went to what he thought would be able to generate, whether it be funds, whether it be a movement behind his son, and he just expressed himself. I think dude is an ass personally, but I'm quite sure that he would probably think that we're asses because of our particular views on it. Again, I think it was done for monetary reasons to try and get some support behind his son. But again, we're going away from the main thing. He was malice in his decision in regards to going or following Trayvon Martin, which led to his death. That's pretty much what it is. It could be two white people, it could be two black people, it could be a Hispanic and a black, it could be an Asian and a damn Mexican. I don't give a damn. That's really what it is.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think anytime you got a situation where you've got white on black issues, what upsets me sometimes, all the time, that's when black people get fired up. Now, we can be mad about Mr. Zimmerman saying what he said, and we can protest in Sanford for them not going ahead and bringing in people to make sure that he was at least arrested. But what sometimes frustrates me, Dub, and I know this is off the subject, speak to this real quick. I'm going to go to Carlton and then we're going to move on. But the fact that we in our community, the black community, don't seem to be as outraged when we kill each other. We could be real pissed off when somebody white does something to us, but then when somebody black does something to us, which it seems to be quite prevalent, we don't see no protest marches. We see a vigil. And then when the vigil is over, that's it. What's your thoughts on that?
You're absolutely right, and it amazes me. That's more of, as much as we talk about that as a community, it does come down to an individual responsibility to each other. And I think that with that sense of we don't have that sense of community. A lot of times, we get caught up in those type of scenarios where we get outraged when someone of another race causes harm to us, but yet we don't have that same outrage when a gang member in your neighborhood shoots someone that when you have someone who is not doing good in your neighborhood. You tend not to raise your voice in saying that this is wrong and I want this to stop. Like I stated, it's more of a personal mindset. If everyone took that same mindset, I think that our communities would be a little bit better. Basically, going back to what you and I grew up in the 70s as well, where everybody was responsible for their neighbor. I think that we've kind of gotten away from that, and we don't get outraged at the different things that happen in our community, but we'll get outraged if someone from another race or from another community comes in and does basically the same damn thing.
I can dig it. Santee Nathan, thank you. I see your note on MixLR. Thank you for your kind words.
The biggest thing, and you hit on it, Marcus, is the fact that I hurt you, you hurt me. It's okay if we do that. We don't say anything. But let somebody else, I don't have any names to just call out, just let somebody else hurt me. You're all up in arms. Jay's all up in arms. Somebody else is all up in arms. It comes to the fact that until we can police ourselves, then I understand why you get mad. I understand why you bring it to light. But until you do yourself, take care of home first. Why? Why go through the problem? Granted, I do want to see justice. I wholeheartedly want to see justice. I want to see Zimmerman get a fair trial. At this point, do I think he'll get one? No. Because, in fact, it's too much been said already. Heck, murderers have been to trial well before he has, and they committed a crime last week.
Right.
So, at this point, you're going to get a mistrial, which is going to cause a problem. You're going to get him to be retried. He'll probably get another mistrial.
Right.
It's going to be just one problem after another.
I can dig it. Ain't no half step with Marcus J. live from the Den, LegacyInternetRadio.com, the flagship show. Call us if you want to be down at 804-402-2893. President Obama's approval rating is down, y'all, and this is the first time in his presidency that more than half of the polled people do not trust him. They just straight up don't trust him. It's a CNN ORC international poll that gives him an approval rating of 45, which is a drop in 8 percentage points over the last month. A lot of it has to do with the NSA, National Security Agency, security surveillance programs that gather phone numbers and internet activity. You got the IRS targeting conservative groups and actions surrounding the September 11th at the U.S. facility in Benghazi. Quote, the drop in Obama's support is fueled by a dramatic 17-point decline over the past month among people under 30, who along with black Americans have been the most loyal part of the Obama coalition, says the CNN polling director Keating Holland. Holland also said it's clear that revelations about NSA's surveillance programs have damaged Obama's standing with the public, although older controversies like the IRS matter and may have begun to take its toll as well. So, K-Dub, I'm going to come to you on this one first. Anybody that knows me knows that I am a President Obama supporter. However, I will question that dude so quick. And there are some things that he's done, like the National Defense Authorization Act, that I will never support, that I think is blasphemy that he signed it, especially when he signed it saying that he would never use it. If you're never going to use it, then why the hell did you sign it? I thought that was the dumbest thing he did all presidency, and I'm really pissed about it. And then this whole thing with the IRS, I mean, you can argue that went on and had other people in control of it. It just happened to fall on his watch. And then the same thing with Benghazi. But the thing with Benghazi is, you've got a lot of people who have issues with the fact that the United States people have not been given transparency. So hearing those figures with regards to the polling and knowing what you know about those issues, just give me a quick comment on it. I got one other thing before we move on to the following segment.
Me as a person, I really could care less about polling, especially in the second term of the president, because at this particular point, who really cares in regards? I mean, he's not going to be voted on again, so his popularity, who really cares? A lot of the things that he got going on or what have you are not going to be voted on. I can see why a number of people are not in agreement with a number of the things that he's done, especially black people, because a number of black people feel as though that he hasn't done enough for the black community in regards to this whole IRS. Anything that goes on government wise, it is always linked to the president and whatever displeasure that you may have in regards to a particular thing. If in fact you are asked about the administration or President Obama, he's going to have to wear it for that situation. Am I happy with everything that President Obama has done? Not at all. But again, hey, let's be real. We're talking about President Obama's approval rating, but if I'm not mistaken, I think I saw either Saturday or yesterday, they're talking about ex-President George W. Bush's approval rating or something like that is going up.
Yeah,
Who really gives a damn about President George W. Bush at this particular point?
Yeah, I saw that. Carlton Banks, what's your thoughts on what we just laid out, man?
Well, one of the things that I just saw was the fact that people are upset that he is playing with his kids with a water gun and calling him a hypocrite behind that situation. You know what? I see it as him having fun with his kids, and people now just want to hate because it's a gun. But again, it's a water gun, and people just don't want to see it as such. They want to see it as a foundation to try to bring him down. Whether his approval rating is where it is, you can't get him out of office. He's there for 2.5 more years. So just suck it up. Just deal with it and go from there.
No, I could dig it. I mean, I somewhat tend to agree with K-Dub on this one because approval numbers, I tell you, can sometimes be deceptive. As I alluded to earlier when we talked about the sports segment, how the unfortunate thing is misinformed people follow after people who they think are informed instead of doing their own damn homework. You know what I'm saying? When we're talking about the games, watch the games, you'll see what's going on. If you watch what's going on with the president and you follow, a poll number, you can be misled into think that he's doing a poor job. And one of the key things that his detractors will say is that there's a lack of leadership. Well, you know what? I think that's just a dumbass thing to say. It just is. Not just for this president, just for any president. I mean, because the reality is you don't get to be the president unless you're some kind of leader. You can be a leader of people who don't, who support you. And of course, the people who don't support you are going to say that you didn't lead. So it's apples and oranges here. George Bush was a leader. Was he a leader of people who were liberal? No. Was he a leader of people who were conservative? Absolutely. So to say that he wasn't a leader is just stupid. It's stupid. And you get people who actually will feed into that, and that's how the snowball effect happens. Am I happy with the IRS thing? No. Am I happy with the NSA thing? No. Am I happy with, Benghazi? No. But at the end of the day, every single presidency is going to have things that come upon them that are going to be black marks. Am I surprised that his number is down? No, but I do think that at some point it'll come back up a little bit because I do think that he's been a good president for our country, not just because he's the first black president, but because I think that he has done a good job. And I'll leave it there. One last thing that I want to get to, and then we're going to get to the end of the show when the following segment when we get to the question that Carlton Banks is going to ask, what do you think about it? Which, again, what that it is, I think will have a lot of people excited to join in on the discussion, particularly what we just had over this past weekend. And that was just a little tease as to what that's going to be. But the last thing, and Aisha, I'm going to come to you on this one first. Bill Cosby has said a lot of things in the last few years that has gotten some people upset. You've got, and similar to the president, a lot of people feel as though the president and Bill Cosby have been talking down to black people and not being supportive of black people in the sense that saying things that, make it seem like they're not trying hard or, things like that. And there was a quote from a New York Post op-ed that Bill Cosby had written. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there's a piece of it that I want to read that I want to roundtable. Aisha, we'll come to you on this one first. Bill Cosby says, quote, "I'm a Christian, but Muslims are misunderstood, intentionally misunderstood. We should all be more like them. They make sense, especially with their children. There is no other group like black Muslims who put so much effort into teaching children the right things. They don't smoke, they don't drink or overindulge in alcohol. They protect their women, they command respect. And what do these people do? They complain about them. They criticize them. We'd be a better world if we emulated them. We don't have to become black Muslims, but we can embrace the things that work." When you hear that kind of statement coming from what some have called America's favorite dad, what's your thoughts on that?
I think everybody is entitled to their opinion. And that goes for parenting as a whole. We can't dictate how people parent their children, although we would like to. Everyone has a different outlook. Everyone has a different circumstance. But I don't know about that one. I just think it comes from home.
Colin Banks, what's your thoughts?
The biggest thing about Bill Cosby is that he says things to incite a response and a reaction. The thing he's saying is he wants to incite a positive reaction, not so much a negative reaction as what some of the people are going to try to say. He's downplaying his race or he's doing this. Bill Cosby's an educated man. Mm-hmm. He's been around for eons.
He's a PhD.
He's a doctorate in that. He's gotten, awards. He's a philanthropist. Yeah, that word. And, be happy for what he's trying to say and what he's trying to do. He's trying to continue his legacy and make you see what his legacy is. So, hate on, haters.
I remember when we watched Menace to Society, movie came out in 1993. There was a scene where Charles S. Dutton, and I don't remember what his character's name was, but he was talking about his son. His son was a Muslim who hung out with, the gangers, the hood kids. And there was a line that he said, because they used to pick on him for being a Muslim. And he said, if Allah could make this kid a better man than Jesus can, then I'm all for it. With that line in mind, K-Dub, why don't you comment on the comments on what Bill Cosby has said?
I have no issue with anything Bill Cosby has said. I think the man has done enough work and he has age to back him up, whereas we as individuals, especially black individuals, need to take a listen to it. Let's look at the statement that he made. Let's just look at the statement that he made. Let's take the religious background out of it, right? Let's take it as gray. It's not black, it's not white. Aren't those the things that you as an individual want to do? You want to uplift your children. You want to teach them right from wrong. You want to command respect. Those are individual things that don't even have to be affiliated with religion, and that's just being a good person, being a good person for your community as well as your family. So if anything, that's to be respected in regards to, how we should act as individuals. And it's funny. You talked about Charles S. Dutton's comment in the movie. You were talking about Bill Cosby 2013 making comment. He's made other comments in the previous 10 years or so on and so forth. It's funny that it's always the same. I almost had to say a word in the job, but it's funny that it's the same thing over and over and over again. And we continue as a community, as a society, as humanity, we continue to shun those individuals that say these things, but then 2 weeks later we wonder why there's a shooting here, or why this kid did that, or why this person did that. It all goes back to being taught at a young age of right and wrong, and being a asset to your community. So, I applaud Bill Cosby. And anytime he got anything to say, I'm all ears.
I agree. And I think a lot of it has to do with the inherent fear and just hatred that a lot of people in our country have for Muslims. Because I think the fact that he attached black Muslims to this comment is what is probably the reason why it was considered incendiary. Because I remember speaking to old timers who, were around during the days of the 60s, who remember seeing, Malcolm X and, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and cats like the Nation of Islam, and having issues with them. And even since then, when they've taken a certainly less militant course, they still have issues with them, which is ironic when you look at the late 60s and early 70s, when you had the Black Panthers, who were a whole lot more radical than the Nation of Islam ever could have been. People embraced them, but they didn't embrace the Nation of Islam. And I think a lot of it has to do with just that, Islam. So when you put, black Muslims in this conversation, I think that's what I don't want to say got him in trouble, because he's not in trouble, but I think that's what got some of the people to be detractors. Because like you said, I don't think there's any way you can look at what he said and have a problem with it. Take out black Muslims, and everything else was great. He's talking about taking care of your family, taking care of your children, protecting your women, things of that sort. Like, who the hell would want to do that? And when you look at the Nation of Islam, people like to call them black Muslims, whatever you want to call them. If you want to look at them, that's a big part of what their doctrine is. They don't drink, they don't smoke. They make sure that they keep, their children, educated. They do a lot of things, in house. They eat their own food that they make. You know what I'm saying? They teach their children in their own schools. You got a lot of communities that do that, and I don't see the same kind of hatred going towards them. I don't see anybody hating on the Amish people, and they do that. So.
And if I'm not mistaken, that's in every religion, any religion, or whatever you do to gain peace within yourself. I think that's something that's consistent, whether you're a Christian, Buddhist, or whatever.
Well, I think what's frustrating for me is that it's okay for every other community to take care of themselves, except for the black community. Whenever the black community wants to get together and do some things, you got a lot of outsiders that got issues with it. And you got a lot of insiders who got a problem with it as well. When you look at, other cultures that come to this country, what do? They pool their money together and they build businesses together. And we get mad when we go to the Chinese restaurant on the corner, but if you look around, every single one of them they all family, they all work together, they pooling their money together. I remember growing up in Jersey City, and you started seeing a lot of, Latino markets, bodegas and stuff coming up. You see a lot of that. You see a lot of it, Indian communities. Just a lot of communities seem to do this, and we got a strong history of doing this. Long before, the civil rights movement, we used to do this, and now all of a sudden we don't do it. We're so quick to go spend our money at Walmart somewhere, as opposed to getting the same product from someplace else. And I don't want to take the conversation in that direction, but that sometimes frustrates me. Let me get a couple of quick comments in from the MixLR page before we take this break. Hakeem is saying definite lack of leadership. Check out the concept of G0. He's going back to what we talked about on the president. You've got in live and radio Stephen Sykes. He's also saying that certain aspects of the culture that he's saying that and he's talking about Bill Cosby, that we need to adopt focus on education, don't smoke, limit drinking, etc. His words along with Harry Belafonte. Been saying these things for years. Bill Cosby is challenging us as a whole to do more stand-up. Everything is not their fault. They're in capitals, and I think we know who they are. A lot of it is apathy. We have, as a community, things have gotten better in some things, so we don't fight as much as we should do. I think that is probably the best statement we've heard on this particular topic, Steve. That was very good. Ain't no how Steppin with Marcus J. Gonna take a break. When we come back, Carl Banks is asking, what do you think about it? Very good question, and I can't wait to get into it. Marcus J. Ain't no how Steppin. Got Miss Aisha, Carl Banks, and K-Dub on the live line. Stay with us. Be back in a minute.